We've all heard the horror stories and we've seen the movies and the shows that depict pregnant women as demons. Because let's face it, the normal hormonal changes that take place in a woman's body during pregnancy can definitely drastically affect our moods, our emotions, and then when you add grief on top of that, the lines between normal pregnancy emotions and those that are grief can definitely become blurred. So, if you're pregnant again after loss and you're not really sure whether what you're experiencing are normal emotions of pregnancy or whether they're grief, keep watching. Peace and infinite blessings and rainbows to you. My name is Sunshine Cummings. I'm a mindset coach, healer, and doula, and you are watching Heal with Sunshine. All right, let's jump right into it. So, the first emotional sign that you may be experiencing grief in pregnancy is guilt. That's a big one. I know for me, my first pregnancy was horrible physically. Like the symptoms of pregnancy that I had, I mean, I was extremely nauseous, extremely tired. Like I was too tired to get up to eat, which could make my nausea feel better depending on what I ate. But I was so sleepy, so tired, so fatigued that I didn't want to get up to eat, and the cycle just continued. It was just a horrible cycle. Now, I did not have an issue with vomiting. I have a emetophobia, and I don't do vomit. Okay? Not even for myself. So, I didn't have that issue, but just the morning sickness. And it was not just in the morning, okay? It lasted all day long. All day long. I had a point where the saliva would just like fill my mouth, and it was just not good for me, okay? I was very tired all the time and just feeling weak and lethargic and drained, even up into my second trimester. So when my water bag broke and I went into labor, I started to go into labor in my first pregnancy. Of course, I was not thrilled, right? But after, I felt better. All of those symptoms, everything that I had been dealing with, they went away. And I just remember wondering if my dislike of my pregnancy symptoms, my strong dislike of my pregnancy symptoms, had anything to do with the loss, if that makes sense. And I just felt so much guilt about the fact that I despised the pregnancy so much. Like, did I bring this on somehow because I was just so like through with the pregnancy, so to speak. Obviously, I wanted my baby, but I didn't want to go through what it took to get to that end point. And I don't think I really complained a lot, not externally, but like internally, just like, when is this going to be over? When am I going to feel like myself again? When am I going to get to that stage where it's like, I forget what they call it, but that second trimester stage where it's like cakewalk, right? When am I going to get there? Because I'm practically there and I still feel like shit. Okay. So there was a lot of guilt about feeling bad pregnant. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is anger. Of course, that kind of goes along with the guilt. You may feel some anger at yourself, at other people, at God, source, universe, your higher being. You may feel some anger toward your partner. You may feel anger toward that baby, that soul that didn't come through. Anger is definitely a huge part of grief. Okay. Number three, loneliness. You're not alone, number one. But I understand the feeling of loneliness. If you're feeling so alone, like nobody understands you, there's nobody that's been through what you've been through, at least not within your immediate circle, your family, your friends, people that you actually know in real life, not just these people on the Facebook groups or on the online forums, but real people. And you just feel like you have no one to talk to. You feel like nobody gets you. And some days you just feel alone. Even maybe you may feel lonely without your baby. Like your baby didn't come through. And so you just have this sense of maybe loneliness. That could be grief. Okay, number 4, fear. That's a big one. That's a big one, especially in women who are pregnant again after having had a previous loss. The fear of it happening again, the fear that something may be wrong with you, your body, the fear that you may never become a mom. Like, if you are plagued with a lot of fears, just having so many fears about your pregnancy in general that are a little bit outside of, if you can remember when you were pregnant before, there may have been like some concerns, some like, what if this, or like some just general nervousness, but this is beyond that. This is like fear that it kind of like just never goes away, and it's constant, and you're just always worried that it may happen again or something worse, or you may be thinking into the future that maybe your baby will never come through, right? Or maybe you'll never become a mom. If you have like those types of fears that are like really deep-seated, it could be related to the grief. Number 5, anxiety. This kind of also goes along with the fear, because fear, false evidence appearing real. Fear is not real, right? It's not real, but it can be so convincing to the mind sometimes that it creates a reaction within the body, within your emotional state. Like, you may start to have racing thoughts, and though we'll get to that in the next video when I talk about the mental signs that you may be experiencing grief. However, anxiety is just like, you just feel anxious. A lot of women who have experienced loss before are very, very anxious in subsequent pregnancies. Anxious again, along with the fears that it may happen again, or just any little thing can be worrisome. You go to the bathroom, you're constantly looking down and checking. I know I did that. You're looking, am I peeing from, is just one stream of pee coming out? Are there two? Did my water bag break again? All of those types of concerns. Also, I know I used to wipe, looking at the tissue, looking for blood. You know, it was just like, extra. It was a lot, okay? And that, I didn't do that in my first pregnancy. Like, with my first pregnancy, I knew everything was, it was all good. Like, this is what women do. We get pregnant. We get pregnant easily, which I did not. You've heard my story. But we get pregnant like nothing. We go on to carry our babies. We give birth. We become moms. Well, that's not everybody's reality. It's just not. So my first pregnancy, I thought it was. Then by the second one, I also experienced loss in that second pregnancy. But by then, the anxiety, the fears, and honestly, it was way worse in my third pregnancy, because I had 2 losses back to back. With my second pregnancy, yeah, there was a little bit of anxiety and, you know, a little bit of concern, but not really. Because with the first one, it was like, they don't really know what happened. We don't know. You know, they could not definitively tell me it was incompetent cervix, or it was weak cervix, or they were not able to tell me those things. So here I am now in my second pregnancy, not necessarily think, because and again, you know my story, you know that I studied home birth midwifery. Like, I was apprenticing to be a home birth midwife, did some doula work and things like that. And so for me, it was like, I know these things happen. Women miscarry sometimes, you know. We don't always know why. Sometimes it just happens. It's not very common in the second trimester, though, but that didn't register in my brain. It was just like, okay, well, it just didn't happen, and I moved on. So the anxiety wasn't as strong in the second pregnancy as it was in the third, after having 2 losses. So depending on the amount of pregnancies that you've had, the amount of miscarriages, losses, that could also affect the level of anxiety that you experience. Number 6 is denial. Denial that you are grieving. Boy, was that me. Oh my gosh. So that kind of goes along with what I just said before, like with that second pregnancy. When my second pregnancy rolled around, there was like a little bit of denial about what really happened and the fact that it could potentially happen again. Like, it was almost like I just blocked it out, almost. And I just remember how people would tell me how strong I was or how brave I was, and they admired my strength. People would say things to me like, oh my gosh, like, you're so strong. I would have died, or I don't think I could have handled that, and so gracefully, because I didn't get extremely emotional about it. Like, I had my moment, like, very shortly after it happened, like the next day or two, I had a huge emotional release. And then after that, it was just like, okay, life goes on, moving on. Let's try for the next one. It was like that. Number 7 is shock. Shock. Just being in shock or feeling in shock. You could be feeling in shock about your current pregnancy, like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant again, or just anything. Just like, to me, shock could also be like a state of almost apathy, but that's on my list as well. But it's kind of like that, like confusion almost, like something like that, Number 8 is sadness, understandably so. Whether you're pregnant or not, you grieving the loss of someone or something, that definitely is going to come along with some sadness, whether it's expressed or released or not. Like with me, of course, I was sad. I was definitely sad both times, but there was no like external expression of that to the outside world. Not even with myself. I rarely cried about it, but I did feel the sadness of it, if that makes sense. Okay, number 9 is depression. Now, depression and sadness, a lot of people kind of get those confused sometimes. They're very different. Depression comes along with a lot of physical symptoms as well, like feeling fatigued, feeling tired, just feeling down in the dumps, not wanting to do anything. Like, you don't want to brush your teeth, comb your hair, get dressed, get out of bed. You just want to sleep all day or watch TV all day. With some people, it shows up differently. Like, you may want to eat. Some people may not want to eat. They may lose their appetite. Some people eat for comfort, right, with depression. So that could be a sign of grief. I know with my pregnancies, prenatal depression is a thing. And I felt depressed in all of my pregnancies before I even ever had a loss. So hormones could also affect you. Pregnancy hormones could affect you that way as well. But again, when you add grief on top of that, it can sometimes feel severe. So always, always, always talk to someone. People do, like healthcare providers do have evaluations. Like, they do have evaluations, that questions that they can ask you, and then they grade it like on a scale of this to this, or if you score this many points or whatever, that can let them know whether you are actually dealing with depression, like actual depression. Okay. Number 10 is yearning. Yearning. Oh, did I yearn? I wanted my babies. I did, especially with that first pregnancy. And grief is a cycle. And you never know when it's going to hit you. But she was born, like, I gave birth to her. She wasn't even a pound. She was some ounces, like 9 ounces, I believe. And I got to hold her. I got to smell her. I got to kiss her, name her, all of that. I got to spend time with her. She lived for 4 hours. 4 hours. And so, yearning, when I left the hospital, when, days later, it's like, I'm a mom, but I'm not a mom. Like, I am, but where's my baby? And I was yearning for that little girl so much, so much. I could smell her. The nurses, they were so awesome. They bathed her for me. Shortly after, why, I don't know. I have no idea why they would bathe her, but I appreciated it. They were so gentle and sweet with her, but y'all know I would have never used that Johnson and Johnson's baby soap that comes with the hospital. But of course, I was not prepared. I didn't have anything with me. I was on vacation, so they used what they had. But that smell, I will never forget that smell. And they gave me this box for her with like a little memory box, and I kept that soap in there. It's somewhere around here. Yeah, it's somewhere. I know where it is. It's somewhere safe. But I kept that soap. That soap is in there so I could smell it. And like the clothes that they had put on her, well, they weren't really clothes. She had like a hat and then just some stuff. Okay, get some tissue. Always have your tissues when you're watching my videos, okay? Even I have to have them. But I yearned for her. I did. I could smell her. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to hold her. Even when it was time to leave her at the hospital and leave, because obviously they're not going to let me take her. They have to send her to the morgue in the hospital, and I had to make arrangements for the funeral home for them to pick her up. Well, she had to be flown back to DC. I was living there at the time, and I was on vacation in Florida. Like, it was just a lot and a whole long process. And just having to leave the hospital, I just wanted my baby with me. When it was time for us we drove to Florida. It was time to drive back to DC. I just kept thinking about her flight, like when she was going to be on the plane, who's going to be flying this plane, like all this stuff when they pick her up. Like, I just wanted to know her whereabouts every step of the way, and I yearned for my baby. Okay, so yearning is normal. It's a part of grief, and it may not ever go away, and that's okay. 11, helplessness. Just feeling helpless, like there's nothing that you can do. That's far from the truth. There's a lot you can do. Keep watching my videos and you will get that information of things to help yourself, to help the people around you, to help you move forward, or move through, I should say, because it's a process and it's something you have to go through to get through, right? Number 12, numbness or apathy. Remember, that went along with shock. Kind of similar feeling, but it's just kind of like, I don't give a fuck. IDGAF all day long. Or just, it may hit you. Like, I just don't give a fuck. It kind of goes along with depression as well. Like, I don't give a fuck about my teeth. I don't brush my teeth today. Pandemic. Okay, I don't give a fuck. It's just like a feeling of just like neutrality, numbness. Like you're just kind of numb, kind of on the fence about things, or just don't really care to have an opinion about anything. You're just like, okay, whatever. That's number 12. Number 13, despair. Despair. That kind of also goes along with helplessness, but it's more like hopelessness. It's like you have no hope. You just feel so desperate, almost like a feeling of hopelessness. I don't have another word for it. I'm trying to describe the feeling, even just like nothing is gonna be different. Like there's no hope. There's no chance for you. That type of a feeling. Yeah. And that hopelessness that could be more so about the current pregnancy not your current pregnancy, I take that back, about the previous pregnancy, just feeling like there's no hope, right? Because you may really feel like that, like, well, my baby's not coming back, there's no hope for me there. But there is, because you're pregnant again, and this baby wants to come through, and you're going to help it. You're going to help it by helping you. And by helping you, you help it. You nurture yourself, and you'll nurture your baby at the same time. So again, pregnancy can be extremely, extremely hard when you're pregnant again after having experienced a loss. It can be harder than it is normally, right? Because it not only does it come along with the pregnancy symptoms, but also the emotions of pregnancy due to the hormonal changes, just the shifts and everything on top of possibly grief. So I'm here for you. You got this. I know you can do this. You can get through this. So please like, share, comment, drop me a comment below. If you have any questions, drop that below. And please share, 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 share. I thank you for watching. Peace and infinite blessings and rainbows to you.